All right, this is the week leading up to the Super Bowl. I refuse to call it Pro Bowl week because the Pro Bowl is trash. But we got some new coaching hires. The McDaniels are in. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. The rhymes are Daryl's, but the burgers are Ronald's. It's a big shout out to the Gen X there. And anybody younger or older probably have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No. It's like, what?
It's Run DMC rap. So anyway, we're going to talk about the Dolphins got a new coach. Texans got a new coach. Raiders got a new coach. The Pro Bowl is trash. And Brian Flores has really pissed a bunch of people in the league off. All that coming up and more coming up next on the Horseman Pro Football Talk podcast. All right, here we go. Should we skip the formalities? Everybody knows to like, share, and subscribe. Tell their grandma. Follow us on Patreon. All that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. We definitely want you to join us on Patreon for season 3. We're getting bigger and better every year, and we appreciate all the support and the following we're getting. And we want to expand, and we want you along for the ride. So do that, will you? All right. What do we want to talk about first?
Well, let's dive right into this Pro Bowl talk.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here thinking, oh, Pro Bowl, man, it's going to be good. It's in Vegas. All this fun stuff. I turn it on the TV. First 4 or 5 plays. I'm like, what in the world is this? They're literally like walking, not tackling, 2-hand touching. It is the dumbest thing I had ever seen. And I was in the middle of texting you guys. I just turned this on. I'm getting ready to turn it over to golf. It's that bad. No offense to golf. I actually do like enjoying golf sometimes, watching it. But I was flipping it to golf or NASCAR, both of which I would definitely take football over any day of the week. But the Pro Bowl was that bad, I was going to flip it to golf or NASCAR. And then Darius Leonard got a pick 6. So, of course, I watched a little bit longer because that's our boy, right? But, yeah, to me, man, this Pro Bowl thing, it's bad. I know Darius Slade tweeted out, or maybe his Instagram something talked about, most of these guys have been off for a month, so they're not going to give it 100%. They could risk getting injury. I know that's a whole big thing with this Pro Bowl is that guys don't want to get hurt because it's a meaningless game. But it's for the fans. I at least want to see some kind of effort, not 10%. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. Because I feel like when I was younger, I can't remember it, vividly, but there's that clip from 2007 with Sean Taylor. I mean, full go blast and a punter in the Pro Bowl. And I feel like that was the Pro Bowls that we had was when you get a collection of all the best football players in the world from each team and you put them on 2 different teams to face off against each other. If it's really for the fans, then it's on them to perform their best, and you'd probably still have a 41-35 game coming out of it. So, I thought it's really disappointing, especially, this year there were, 7 Colts voted to the Pro Bowl, 6 of them were there. It was nice to see Darius Leonard, get the pick 6, but it's all novelty bullshit. The Pro Bowl voting is a scam. The Pro Bowl game is a waste of time. And, there has to be different solutions that we can come up with to substitute for it because that was absolute garbage.
Yeah, and they're going to have to substitute. Look, these guys get bigger and stronger and faster every single year. The injuries are astronomical, more than they've ever been. When I was a kid, guys played hurt. I mean, they're just too big and too strong and too fast. They're going to get hurt, and it's not worth the money. So they are going to have to come up with a better solution. Now, I saw someone recommend that the 2 teams in last place play each other for the number 1 draft pick. I think that's a good idea. But on the flip side of that, how many guys won't care? How many guys' contracts are going to be up?
Yeah. You sit there and you think, I'm a quarterback for this team, right? And if we win, we get the number one pick, and we get to draft the guy that replaces my job. So I'm going to make sure we lose this game.
That's right. Or I'm too old for this shit. I don't want to do it anymore. Whatever the case may be. So there's a kink in everything. I know the Senior Bowl is on Saturday, right? The Senior Bowl on Saturday before the Super Bowl, I think so. So maybe there's a thing there where they can, flip flop, move that a week back. I don't know. I do think, I've always thought they don't make a big enough deal about the skills events. I think they could market those differently and run those on a Saturday. Way back when, back in the day, we ABC's Wide World of Sports. This is before ESPN. So I remember when I was younger that ABC Wide World of Sports just ran sports all day long on Saturday. And it could have been anything. And it was anything. And that kind of a format, I think, might work to run these skills contests, and people can see their players competing against each other, making a bigger deal out of that. Because the game just isn't getting it, man. They got to do something.
Yeah, I would even be on board if you took like the practice squad players or the guys that are making like league minimum that are just on the roster to fill a spot, help out practice, help get the reps in for the starters and guys. Get all those guys together, put them on the field to actually play a game, because they're out there trying to prove themselves, show themselves. So they're going to go 110%. It's going to be good quality football. And at the same time, you have all these Pro Bowlers there helping these guys, getting sideline interviews, keeping it entertaining for all of us. It's for the fans. They can get in, see more of these guys on the field talking about football as it's happening, so we can relate to the superstars more, get more personable, get to see them, get to see good quality football at the same time without the liability of losing out on $50 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good point. But they got to do something.
Something I've thought of is that they could take, because when you look at the NFL, you look at the NFL athletes, especially the kind of guys that make the Pro Bowl. These are a lot of football players are multi-sport athletes, whether it be football and baseball or football and basketball. You can incorporate, a softball game, make it a whole weekend thing instead of just, one day for a skills challenge and one day for a game. You make it a whole weekend thing, kind of like the NBA does for their All-Star break, 3-4 days, and you have, a softball game in there. You do
golf game.
Do some golf. You do, the dodgeball. Everybody loved that dodgeball thing. You could make more teams and have like a mini tournament with everybody as one of the events. Like there's so much they could do to keep fans engaged for longer. I feel like, that would bring even more money from the Pro Bowl if you're on all these networks for more days. So that's something that I would say the NFL should seriously consider.
Yeah. And what I like about that, I remember being a young fan and watching the Pro Bowl festivities, and they did do some skill stuff, and I loved seeing my favorite players in normal street clothes. It gave them that humanizing, that human connection, and there's a lot of things they could do and a lot of things they should do, and this may be the end of it. It's steadily progressed this way over the years, and it's getting worse, and they're going to have to address it. So I'm sure they'll figure something out. But if they want to call me, I got a lot of availability, coming up. So just schedule an appointment, get with me, and I'll tell them what to do.
Hell yeah, our rates are as low as you can get them.
Yeah. All right. So I want to bring up something that I guess Tom Brady has said, that if the Tuck rule would have never happened, that he would have probably been Drew Bledsoe's backup the following season. Now, I just kind of like to toot my own horn here. Hefe, we've been talking about that for years. It's called the butterfly effect, and I think that's what I think is remarkable is that Brady has the humility to admit that. And we've talked about that Tuck rule doesn't. It's a big thing right now. Isn't there a 30 for 30? I think it's 30 for 30 on the Tuck rule is out right now, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And And I think we've talked about it on this show. That Tuck rule doesn't happen. They rule that for the Raiders. The Raiders go into the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. Brady's probably Bledsoe's backup. The Patriots don't become the dominating franchise they were. Chucky may win a Super Bowl with the Raiders, and he may stay with the Raiders and not go to Tampa Bay, and which Tampa Bay won a Super Bowl under him, and it changes everything. It cascades down the line, and history as we've known it since the Tuck rule could be completely different. So I thought that it wasn't big news, but I thought it was interesting that Brady, admitted that probably had he not gotten that call, that they now, everybody knows. Someone on Facebook, one of you young whippersnappers said, what do you think about the Tuck rule? And I said, man, I watched it live. I remember clear as day, and everybody knew that he fumbled the football. Everybody knew it. Shitty rule that has since been changed. But I just want to bring that up. But speaking of Tom Brady, I have a theory that the mystery quarterback in question in Miami in the lawsuit is Tom Brady.
Yeah, it sure appears to be that way.
Does that shed new light on his retirement? Did he get out because shit's getting ready to come down? Would they do the rules hold the player accountable?
In regards to what? Tampering?
Tampering. Is the player responsible for that at all? I don't know the answer to that.
I'm sure it happens a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it happens. I'm just saying, if it is Brady, and Flores can prove that it's Brady, and this lawsuit was coming out, and the NFL got involved in it, and it came out that it was Brady and it was tampering, can the player be held accountable? That's what I don't know. If so, that would be a reason to get out and retire before scandal hit and tarnish your reputation.
Well, I mean, he had the whole Deflategate and he got suspended, and that nobody even remembers that. So,
yeah,
if you're Tom Brady, you don't.
Bill Burr does.
Yeah,
Bill Burr talks about Deflategate all the time. Have you ever seen that?
If you're Tom Brady, you can get away with murder in the NFL, and nobody's going to care as long as you win another Super Bowl.
Yeah. He said as much on his podcast a couple weeks. I think it was like the last week of the regular, or no, it was after the first playoff game when he got in the ref's face, and he said he's done that 1,000 times and had never gotten flagged before, and he knew he could get away with murder on the football field.
Yeah. Of course, I also think there's an art to that. There's an art to pushing somebody just to right before the breaking point and letting off. And some people have that skill and know when people are getting ready to snap and what they can say and what they can't say to get away with it. And some people don't have that. They don't have that filter. And then they wonder why they're the ones getting busted all the time. And Brady seems like that kind of guy. He knows what he can get away with and what he can't, for sure. And like throwing a tablet, probably no. So, all right, let's spin right into the Dolphins. I got a rant.
Oh, my. Yeah. Going to interrupt you here. We have some breaking news as we're recording this.
All right.
The Saints have informed their defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, that they are hiring him as their next head coach.
Who?
The Saints.
I heard that Eric Bieniemy spent 8 hours with him today, and he was going to be their next head coach.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was thinking, too. Yeah, after a 9-hour interview, something like that, you would kind of think they have the job. But no, they've –
But I saw two different newspapers in Miami name two different coaches simultaneously yesterday. It was obviously it was Mike McDaniel, and I can't remember who the other coach. But the stories broke at the same time on my Facebook news feed, and then a few minutes later, the one disappeared. That was the incorrect one. I can't remember who they named as the coach, but so there's a lot of weird rumors going around. But that's interesting. With the Saints, they're going to go with the defense, huh?
Yeah, that's the way it seems. Somebody that, from what I've heard, it seems like he's been getting groomed under Sean Payton to be the next head coach for some time now. So probably a good fit. The players there on both sides of the ball are familiar with him. So it seems like probably the best fit for the team in the situation they're in.
Okay. Well, this doesn't look good for the league with what's going on right now. I don't understand why Eric Bieniemy doesn't have a job. I don't.
Yeah, that's very, very odd. It's especially because he's interviewed how many times over the last couple of years, and he still doesn't have a job.
I don't understand with a guy like that. And look, Mike McDaniel might he might be the guy in Miami. We're going to talk about this in a minute. He might be the guy in Miami. Okay. But when you compare resume to resume, his resume doesn't compare to Eric Bieniemy. It just doesn't. I don't understand it. And I don't understand why Brian Flores had to file a lawsuit because he should have been hired before that happened. I don't understand it. I'm not going to go out either way and say there's a problem with race. I'm not going to say that because I don't know that. But it's weird that Eric Bieniemy doesn't have a job as a head coach in the NFL. I don't get it.
That's how I feel, especially because I've heard multiple different NFL players or NFL execs that I've heard their interviews. Like, I've heard people talk about how, like, if these interviews aren't going well, they generally won't last very long. And if they don't last very long, then somebody knows they didn't get the job. But it's like last year and this year, Eric Bieniemy's interviews are like all lasting at least 4 hours. Like, he's having real talks with these people, and there's just something there that he's just not getting the job right now.
Yeah. So who's left? Is anybody left? I know. I mean, the Texans hired Lovie Smith today. The Dolphins have Mike McDaniel. Is there anybody left? The Vikings.
That's right. Yep, the Vikings. Well, no. The Vikings are getting the Rams offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, I think his name is.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Okay.
Yep.
And that's it, right?
I do believe so, yeah.
Okay. All right. I want one more time. Last time, maybe. I'm going to rant about Flores. Stephen Ross is a problem. The record under Stephen Ross is below 500 since it's been there in 2008. Anyone who doubts, I've seen a lot of people talk about Brian Flores was a scrub coach. And when I see people say that, I automatically know they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Because anybody who was paying attention, the people like that are idiots, and they're only seeing what they want to see. It's anybody's paying attention could see what Brian Flores was doing down here. Now, I don't know, had he been there another year, it might have tanked and gone the other direction. But what he established in the first 2 years appeared to be a winning formula, and you have to give it another year. We've talked about that, right? I don't understand why it's so hard for people to believe that an arrogant, jackass billionaire would incentivize losing to get a better draft pick. Why is that so hard to believe? I've seen so many Colts fans who 10 years ago, the entire chant was "suck for luck." All the fans were complaining the Colts were winning because they were screwing their chances of getting Andrew Luck. And some of those people are now calling Flores a liar because he's claiming the owner wanted him to lose to get a better draft pick. That doesn't make any sense.
To go right with Miami, remember all the Dolphins were calling tank for Tua.
Tank for Tua, exactly. So I don't understand why it's so hard to believe. And I've seen so many people just calling Flores a liar, flat out calling him a liar, getting no credibility for his claim. And I don't understand. My default is Flores doesn't have a reason to lie about it. Stephen Ross does. That immediately. Who has a reason to lie here? And Ross does. If delusional fans want their team to lose to get a better draft pick, then someone needs to explain to me why the selfish billionaire owner wouldn't want the same thing, and even more so. I don't get it. Flores has no reason to lie. Stephen Ross is the problem. Shad Khan is a problem. Fans deserve a better product. NFL fans deserve the most competitive 32 teams that can possibly be put together. Obviously, some owners don't care, right? Some owners just love having clueless owners in their division who just have a revolving coaching door and are constantly at the bottom of their division. But fans don't deserve that. I mean, we deserve better. Fans shouldn't be okay with it. Fans should not take the sides with the owners in disputes like this. They should take the sides with the players. They should take the sides with the coaches. This is like the working class. This is like political, the working class versus the billionaire class. Flores should have never been fired in the first place. And it's exactly why I question that he didn't get the consideration that he deserves. And it's one of when we break it down with Flores, it is one of two things. It's either because he's black which is what he's claimed. I'm not so sure that the lawsuit doesn't have some validity with that, but that's the platform they're using for the other complaints, if that makes sense. That it's not completely about discrimination, but there is discrimination involved in it, and that's the platform that they're going with to be, because I don't know that he could sue for being offered $100,000 to incentivize. So I think that he's maybe using what he has available. And I don't know anything about the situation. I'm not denying that there is or there isn't. I don't want to get in the middle of all that, but it's one of two things. Either it's because he's black, or it's because the good old boy refuses to hire him because their buddy Ross called him and said, don't hire this guy, and he's being blackballed, or both. Either way is bullshit if he's a good coach. That's what I keep people saying, well, it shouldn't matter what color he is if he's a good coach. Exactly right. And it shouldn't matter if one billionaire jackass doesn't like him. If he's a good coach, he should get a job somewhere else. And that's the problem why we're having this conversation. So, and the case with the Giants could have just found their guy. They could have just had an interview and been like, this is it. This is everything we want. This is what we're looking for. And because of the Rooney Rule, they had to interview Flores. And the Rooney Rule sucks. There's no two ways about it. But we wouldn't have to have it if there were more black coaches in the NFL. So I don't know what the solution. And I feel sorry for McDaniel being dragged in the middle of this, because McDaniel, I think, is biracial. So he's now going to be dragged in the middle of this. They're going to be like, look, we hired minority coach or whatever. And I hope that doesn't come to that. I hope McDaniel is the answer. I hope he's a great coach. I hope he lifts this organization up. I'm a Dolphins fan, and Miami fans deserve better, but I'm so pissed at Ross right now that it kind of makes me want them to just spiral out of control until somebody rips the ownership away from his hands. But I don't have the right answer. I just know that Flores deserves a job. He'll probably never have one in the NFL again. It's probably over. He'll probably end up in college or move on to something else, because he stood up and said something when he thought he was being wronged. But I admire him for that. So Mike McDaniel, what do you guys think about McDaniel coming in and taking over the Dolphins?
Well, before we get to McDaniel, I just want to say real quick about Brian Flores that I think that eventually, and probably sooner rather than later, he'll get a job in some capacity in the NFL. With the memo that was sent out by Roger Goodell the other day to all the different teams about the discrimination that's happening and all that. I wish I could remember all the wording he had in there, but a pretty strong worded letter to teams, letting them know like what's going on and the issues that have come to light from the different black coaches in the NFL. It's not okay, and they're working on figuring out how they can change it for the better, whether that be some sort of adaptation of the Rooney Rule, because again, it's a shitty rule, but it's one that like has to be there because of the way things are. It's a whole conundrum. I wish we lived in a different world where that didn't have to be a thing. The person who's best for the job should be able to get the job. But at the end of the day, I think that the league is going to be fine with Brian Flores. I think there are plenty of organizations around the league that are understanding to the point of where Brian Flores is coming from, and will be fine with employing him. Probably Bill Belichick. I've heard there's a strong chance he goes back to the Patriots. If not this season, then probably next.
That would make sense. That would make sense. And I'm telling you, my first thought when I heard about the Belichick text, that was Belichick's way of saying, buddy, you got screwed and you need to get in the middle of this real quick. I think he was doing him a solid. So I hope he does. I hope he does go back there. I really do. It's unfortunate. Anything you want to say about it, Zach?
No, not a whole lot. It's a very unfortunate situation. I do agree that Brian Flores is a very good coach. He was definitely turning the Dolphins around. I think he was ultimately fired because he wasn't Ross's little puppet. I think there was a whole issue with the Fitzpatrick versus Tua thing. I don't think he wanted to go with Tua, but of course Tua is your moneymaker, so Ross was inserting his authority over Flores, forced that Tua play. Ultimately, it made the Dolphins go down in competitiveness. They weren't as good as what they were with Fitzpatrick in there. So I think it was a lot of push and pull. And Ross he realized he wasn't going to be his puppet, so they got rid of Flores. So I don't know if it had a whole lot to do with race. I also don't want to get into that conversation, but regardless, I think he was not fired because of his coaching ability. I think he's a very good coach. I think he should coach again. I think he will do well. I think it's more because he just wanted to do his own thing instead of doing what the owner wanted him to do, which is why the Dolphins are having all these problems because of the owner's decision. So,
yeah, and so that goes back to my point about with it being about race. I don't want to diminish the accusation that it is about race. I don't want to take that away from Brian Flores because I don't know how much merit is behind it. I don't know if it's worse than what we think it is. I don't know if it's not near as bad as what we think. I don't have any idea. But what I'm saying is, with the Rooney Rule violation, that may be the only part that race plays in this. I don't know. But that was his ticket to file the lawsuit to get the attention he needed to get about the accusations about tanking and that kind of thing. If he interviews with the Bills and then they make their decision and Flores, what's he do? He goes to the media and he claims that Ross, it doesn't get the attention that it's getting now. He doesn't get the NFL's attention. It just becomes a shitstorm in the media, and that's replaced by something else, presumably the Super Bowl here in a week, and it just goes away. But so the only legal angle, I think, was because there was a Rooney Rule violation, he could lump that in together to get that information out. That's the point I was trying to make earlier. But we also need to realize there could be a whole lot of racism that happened in the front office that we don't know about, that won't come out until they go to court. We have no idea of knowing. I mean, what people don't understand is we only know what they tell us. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Adam Schefter. You only know what they tell you. And there could be a whole lot more to this. So we'll wait and see. But the problem is Ross. And the problem in Jacksonville is Shad Khan and Balky. And if for no other reason, Shad Khan keeping Balky it's just a joke. Oh, and yeah, who did Jacksonville hire?
Doug Peterson.
Oh, that's right. Doug Peterson. Well, Ross is probably pissed because he didn't get his yes man before Shad Khan got him. That's what I feel. And I'm busting Peterson's balls because I don't think he's a real good coach, but I feel sorry for both him and Mike McDaniel walking in situations. I hope Ross learns something and they back up and they let this guy run a team and he builds the Dolphins into a powerhouse. But it sounds like this is just more Jerry Jones shit. And there's a reason the Cowboys haven't, won a playoff game in like 30 years or something ridiculous, because the owner can't stay out of their business and you hire people to let them come in and do what you hire them for. Anyway, rant over. You guys didn't tell me what you think about McDaniel as a Dolphins coach.
It's a very sticky situation. Do I think he's capable of doing well? Yes. But because of the circumstances regarding the owner and everything else going on, I don't like the personnel now. And so I don't see the Dolphins being the team that they were 2 years ago, started to be 2 years ago, anytime soon.
So my thoughts on Mike McDaniels, it's a promising hire for everything they're going through. It's a pretty promising hire, especially for being later in this coaching cycle and missing out on a couple other really good coaches. Mike McDaniel has been under Kyle Shanahan in both Atlanta as a QB's coach, and then obviously with the 49ers, he was the OC. And even though, that is Kyle Shanahan's offense, obviously as a quarterbacks coach, you talk to the quarterbacks. As the OC, you're basically, spending half your time throughout the week talking with the quarterback and game planning with the quarterback. So he's had a huge influence on the quarterbacks who, in the seasons he's been around, have had some of the best seasons of their careers, that being Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I think Mike McDaniel is one of the only head coaches that they could have found to come in and try to make Tua into what Miami drafted him to be. If it doesn't happen with this coach, it's still almost not even completely on Tua because his offensive line, if they don't upgrade that, he really has no shot anyways. If they don't get him more weapons, he really has no shot anyways. But it's going to be tough. But Mike McDaniel's the one guy who can turn around the offense, in my opinion.
So I like the points that you made. I think so as well. I hope so. On one side, I'm like, this guy doesn't have a whole lot of experience to be running an entire organization. But he might have bits and pieces here and there enough to add up, especially with the influence and the tutelage of both Kyle and Mike Shanahan. I mean, he's got there's a lot of football knowledge between those two people. And he's in that circle close with both of them. He originally worked for Mike and now for Kyle. So it's either going to be the hire of the decade and he's going to blow this team up, or he's just not qualified and they're just going to crumble and we'll be having the conversations about what an idiot Ross is in another 2 or 3 years. So I hope it's, I already said that. I won't say it again. Anyway, Texans, Colts division, Texans hire Lovie Smith. I got to say that I'm kind of happy about that because I don't have a whole lot. I like Lovie Smith as a coordinator, but he doesn't have a real good track record as a head coach. He had, 1 or 2 good years in Chicago. They kind of hang his hat on, but I don't know that not only because I'm not real sure about his ability as a head coach, but he has a disaster down in Texas that he's got to. There's a lot of work that needs to be done down there, and I don't know they'll give him the time to do that. I'd love to hear both your thoughts on it.
So I was with you. I thought as soon as I saw the notification come in that the Texans hired Lovie Smith, my exact words were "fuck yeah." I'm as a Colts fan, very happy about that hire. I also he wasn't good in the pros. Like Brad said, he had a couple good years, made it to a Super Bowl on the back of that really good defense. But whether it's been college or the pros, not a great record as a head coach. A decent. Not great defensive coordinator. So it's a curious hire. Seems like another placehold hire until they get more, affirmation to get Josh McCown as their head coach. It sounds like they're going to try to elevate his role in the coaching staff, Josh McCown, this year under Lovie Smith, so that he can get a little more experience and it doesn't look as wild of a change, So I would look for Josh McCown to maybe be the OC for the Texans this year and then maybe the head coach next year.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. I was also pretty excited to see that they hired Lovie Smith. He's a 500 coach. I think he is 89-87 all time in his coaching record. So other than the one time he took the Bears to the Super Bowl in which they lost to the Colts, he took them back to the NFC Championship game in 2010. Other than that, they have been 500 or less or close to 500 every other season. So he's not a consistent good coach. So as a Colts fan, yes, I am pretty happy with the hire down there in Houston, especially because they have so many issues still going down there in Houston.
Yep. All right. That's pretty much all we have to say about that. Should we wrap it? Oh, wait a minute. We got a game to talk about.
Biggest game of the year, baby.
Biggest game of the year. Guys, I had a dream. I'm not kidding. I dreamed that Burrow won the Super Bowl.
Madden also predicts the Bengals to win the Super Bowl 24-21.
Okay. Yeah, I did. And Burrow, if he pulls it off, he'll be the first quarterback. What was this, to win the Heisman, a college national championship, and a Super Bowl? Be the first player in history, or quarterback in history, to do that, right?
And be the first overall pick. And this is only the second Super Bowl that two former
number one picks at quarterback face each other. The other one was Peyton Manning and Cam Newton. Manning with the Broncos. So this is going to be a shootout, huh?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an amazing game. There are some people who think this is going to be a lopsided game. One where I've heard both ways. People think this is going to be lopsided.
Well, I think most people think it's going to be lopsided with the Rams going to win, and Bengals fans think it's going to be the other way. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm trying to be funny.
Well, I know there's a lot of people out there that think Matt Stafford can't rise to the occasion. A lot of people thinking that he's going to show up in, true Detroit fashion for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, it could be, but I don't know. If he does, that's a psychological thing, right? I mean, that waiting for the other shoe to drop, you're just not winning is contagious and losing is contagious, and it affects the way you think about things. And that would be a brain infection left over from Detroit if he got in there and shit started to go wrong and he got into a panic. But I don't know, man. The guy's pretty good. he's pretty damn good. I hope he doesn't. I hope the score's 64-61. I hope it's a freaking Pro Bowl type shootout for the right reasons. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, it's I definitely think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a very entertaining, very close game. When it comes down to it, I have the Rams winning by a field goal at the end. I would love for the Bengals to pull this off. I'm pulling for Joe Burrow. I like his whole swagger and his personality behind him. Would love to see him smoking a big fat stogie after the game. But I think the Rams defense is what is going to help them win this game. I mean, we all know the struggles with the Bengals offensive line. I think Donald's going to get in there. Von Miller's going to get in there, put a lot of pressure on Burrow. Maybe, just maybe, it'll be enough to cause him to make one too many mistakes, and the Rams end up pulling that out. But like I said, I'll be rooting for the Bengals. I think it's going to be very close. It's going to come down to last-second field goal. But, yeah, I have the Rams winning. When it comes to the point spread, I think the Rams are favored by 4 at this point. I would take the Bengals on the points all day. You're getting 4.5 there.
So this one that I keep going back and forth on, because for the first time in a really long time, I have no emotional investment in this game at all. I just want to see good football. I would like to see both these quarterbacks, both these teams win a ring here. But in my head, Joe Burrow, he has more time to do it. So I'm more hopeful for the Rams to win this one. I want to see Stafford go ahead and get a ring, especially his first year out of Detroit. That would let everybody know that he's deserving of all the stats that he has and to one day be a Hall of Famer. And coming into this game, I think it's going to look for the Bengals a lot like that Titans game did, where Joe Burrow is being harassed all day long. I think they're going to be able to get pressure on him on every other drop back, it's going to be a problem. They're going to have to run the ball, but I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball for a long time in this game, because the Rams offense is much more explosive than that Titans offense was. So if the Bengals can't get anything going on offense, they'll get into pass mode, and that's what I expect to happen. I think both teams will make their own runs. I think both defenses will make a couple stops, and the offenses will make something happen. I think this will be a very interesting game. I expect it to be a really good game, but at the end of the day, I just think that the talent that's stacked on the Rams, especially again on that defense, I just think it's going to be too much for the Bengals at the end of the day. They also have a couple guys on their team that have a lot of playoff experience, a couple guys with some Super Bowl experience. So I expect the Rams to come in and get the job done for Matty Stafford.
Well, I got a couple things I want to say. But to your point about with the quarterback play, that Stafford has the highest quarterback rating in the league when being blitzed, and Burrow has the third highest quarterback rating when being blitzed. This could just be an aerial shootout. I mean, this could just get real ugly and be very, very entertaining from that. The Rams had the third most sacks in the NFL, but Burrow was sacked more than any other quarterback. So there's that stat to go along with it to make it even more interesting. This game to me, this reminds me of Super Bowl III, man, and I don't know why. The Colts were the Baltimore Colts were heavily favored. They were the dominant team in the league. They were stacked with talent all over the place, and the New York Jets just slipped into the Super Bowl, and another guy named Joe created what was considered the biggest sports upset of all time up until that point. And for me, this game has that feel, and I think I might put some money on Joe and the Bengals. I hear everything you're saying, but I didn't think the Bengals were going to get this far. I dismissed them at the beginning of the year, and I'm on this wagon. The funny thing is from a psychological standpoint, the Bengals don't know any better. They're like a rookie race car driver that's just reckless as hell all over the place because they think they're invincible. They don't know that there's anything different. They're not supposed to be here, and they know it. And they don't give a shit. And that might come into play. But either way, I think we're going to have a really good game. And in the end, that's all we want, right?
Yep, that's right. And to kind of go along with what you were saying, you were talking about how good both these quarterbacks are against the blitz. And one of the reasons I think the Rams will come out on top of that is because they don't blitz a whole lot. In this game specifically, they're not going to have to. Their 4 can win against the Bengals 5 consistently.
Yeah, except Burrow, I think he had the best numbers against the zone this year of any quarterback, and the Rams play a lot of zone defensively. So there's that. And what's really cool about it is anytime we throw a stat out here, there's a counter stat to it, which makes this ridiculously confusing, which it should be what makes it a great chess match between these coaches. Were you going to say something else on the back end of that?
Yeah, just that, I heard that CJ Uzama is talking about how he's not going to miss the Super Bowl, and that's a big piece for the Bengals. That's something I'm thinking about. If he's able to be a 6th guy blocking for that offensive line for a lot of the game because they already have 3 world-class wide receivers, that's something that I could see them doing, and that's where I think they can pick up an advantage in this game is if he's able to do that effectively.
Yeah. What do you think, Zach?
To be honest, I ran upstairs to go pee, so I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
I think, did you hear me say that this reminds me of the energy of Super Bowl III with the dominant Baltimore Colts stacked with all the talent, and then the New York Jets, a team nobody thought should even be there, led by
Okay.
quarterback.
Okay. Yeah. I had my headphones on, so I was kind of listening. I do remember you said something about the pressure of, let's say, the pressure of LA and how the Bengals have nothing to lose, which I absolutely agree with. The Bengals are going in here. Nobody expected them to be there. They're the underdogs. They thrive off that. And then you're playing a Super Bowl in LA. If you're the Rams, you're at home. You're the second team to do it. All the pressure is on the Rams right now. However, they are a team from LA. They are used to this. They have all the stars. They've been getting all the media attention all season long. So I don't think the pressure is going to be any problem for the Rams here. So I think, it's just going to be a very good game. At least I hope it's going to be a very good game. I hope it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be an aerial shootout like you mentioned. So it's going to be great. The biggest thing in this game is going to be which team is going to make defensive and special teams plays, and I think whoever does that the most is going to win this game.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Which team benefits from a close game? Which team has the advantage in a close game?
If I had to choose between either Matt Stafford or Joe Burrow driving down to score and win the game or put their team in the position to kick a field goal, I would choose Matt Stafford and his supporting cast over Joe Burrow. Although I do like Evan McPherson better than Matt Gay on the kicking end.
So I was going to say, I think Evan McPherson is the X factor there. Matt Gay, you have to get Matt Gay to about 45 yards or in, which means you have to be able to get the ball to the 28-yard line or in if you're Matt Stafford in that offense. But Evan McPherson, if you really needed to, you could have him kick a 60-yarder, which is getting just past midfield. And Joe Burrow and his cast of characters would be able to do that. So if it's a close game, Joe Burrow has the ball, I expect him to be able to go down and take it to either overtime or win the game.
Yeah, I don't know that I could choose between the two. For the Matt Stafford has the experience, and Joe Burrow just doesn't. He's young. He doesn't know any better. I mean, he's so full of confidence that he's a threat. I mean, the Bengals are a threat here. A lot of times you get games like this. I mean, even though this is, I don't want to keep dismissing the Bengals because they have proven themselves, and I'm in. And the seeding is higher than I think this is the highest seeded Super Bowl in history, right?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I think this matchup is the matchup of the highest seeds in Super Bowl history.
No, there's no way. The Bengals are fourth.
I and the Rams were second, I think. But I think I'm somebody fact check that. I think that's accurate. I think this is the highest seeding in Super Bowl history, which means there's always a 5 seed or a 7 seed or somebody squeezing in. I don't know, experience versus confidence, and I don't know who I would take. Which again excites me that this is going to be a really, really, really good game. So who scores the first touchdown of the game?
That's one of the questions, isn't it?
Yeah. Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp, or someone else.
I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp, man. He's the best receiver in the league by far. He's a potential MVP candidate here, and so I'm going Cooper Kupp.
I am doing the boring thing again. I'm going with any other player.
Boo!
Yeah, I know. I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be Odell Beckham Jr. I think the Rams are going to be able to get the ball, and I think between Matt Stafford and OBJ and all the time they've waited to get to this big game, I think they're going to make a point. Sean McVay going to try to make a point to get OBJ that first touchdown.
Okay. All right. I haven't chosen yet. I don't even know. I'm probably gonna go boring pick, the safe pick to any other player just for the odds. Any one of these guys can score, especially if we're gonna have 14 touchdowns scored in this game, which is quite possible. So the over under 2.5 combined passing touchdowns by Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow in the first half.
I'm going to take the over here. I think the score will be probably close to the 20s for both teams at halftime. So I'm going to take the over.
I'm taking the under because both of these teams, pretty much the entire season, are very slow starters. These are second half teams, both of them. The second half should be very exciting, but I could see it being 10-3, 10-7, maybe 13-7 at halftime. So I'm taking the under on this one.
Yeah, Hefe, I think you have a great point there. I'm going to have to take the over because I expect this to be a really high-scoring game, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was slower in the beginning and then the teams got the feel of the game and then it started to heat up from there, and then we just have a shootout in the fourth quarter. So that wouldn't surprise me. Who will record the longest offensive play in the first half between the two teams?
I'm actually going to take the underdog here and take the Bengals, who have 47%. I think that Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, one of those guys is going to get open for a deep bomb in the first half.
I'm going to go with the Rams. This feels like, they have Cooper Kupp. That's really what I'm banking on, is either Cooper Kupp, maybe Van Jefferson gets behind the defense for a 40 or 50-yard play.
Okay. All right. And it's pretty evenly picked between the Rams and the Bengals, and I don't know either. I really don't have an opinion. I know that's kind of a cop out, right? I'll take the Bengals, but I have no.
Yeah, but this is one of those fluky questions. Yeah. Like there's no statistic that you can fall back on. It's just hoping at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be luck of the draw. You're flipping a coin here for sure. Will the game be tied at any point during the second half?
Yes, I want it. You want it. The NFL wants it. Everybody wants it. It's going to be a close game. I hope it's tied in the final 2 minutes, and we see somebody drive down, lead their team down to win the Super Bowl.
I am choosing no. I think
Of
the
course you are.
Rams. I think the Rams are going to be in command. Like I was talking about earlier, I think Burrow and the Bengals are going to be playing catch up for most of the days. They can make it close. I certainly think they can make it close at the end of the game. At the end of the day, but it will never be tied.
Okay. I think it will be tied because, like Zach, I'm hoping it will be tied, and the conditions are ripe for it to be tied, in my opinion. So, all right, who will have more passing yards between the two quarterbacks?
I am going to take Matt Stafford here. Wouldn't surprise me. Joe Burrow's up there. That's why this one's also pretty much a coin flip. But I'm going to take Matt Stafford. I think that the Bengals have a better run game. They'll be able to rely on Joe Mixon a little bit more than what the Rams will with Cam Akers. So I'm taking Matt Stafford.
So I'm taking Matt Stafford for a different reason. I think both these teams pass a decent amount, but I think Matthew Stafford has more attempts this season. I expect him to pass more, but at the same time, on Joe Burrow's dropbacks, I expect maybe somewhere between 5 to 10 of his dropbacks he's getting sacked. You throw in a couple more dropbacks where he has to throw the ball away, so that's going to eat up at some of that. So I expect Matt Stafford to have more yards.
What's interesting about this question is that 60% of the people chose Joe Burrow to have more passing yards than Matt Stafford. But on the next question, 82% predicted that Joe Mixon would have more rushing yards than Cam Akers. So they aren't. You would think that the quarterback who has the least amount of passing yards in comparison to the other one, their running game is going to have more yards than the other team, unless there's a blowout running either way. But the percentage of these picks don't make any sense whatsoever. On this Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, who's going to have the most yards, there is no way to predict that, I don't think. They could both have over 500. One of them could add 500, the other one have 140. I don't have any idea. I don't know.
Yeah, where this next one, where I think this one, I see what you're saying, but I'm also going to pick Joe Mixon for the rushing yards one. I'm with the 82% here, and I think it's because Cam Akers, if you look back at that Tampa Bay game, Cam Akers had 2 of the 4 fumbles for them that day, and he's coming off the Achilles injury. Sony Michel had a pretty good year filling in after Darrell Henderson went down, and Sony Michel's looked pretty good in the playoffs here too. So I expect Sony Michel to be the lead back. I could see Sony Michel having more rushing yards than Joe Mixon, but I expect Mixon to have more yards than Akers.
Okay. Well, to your point, Brad, with Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon, both people taking them as the favorites for the more yards compared to their counterparts. Yes, that is weird. Yes, it can happen. But with Matt Stafford versus Joe Burrow, that type of dynamic situation, I don't see that playing out. So because I'm taking Stafford for the passing yards, in part because the Bengals have Joe Mixon to lean on more so than the Rams have Cam Akers to lean on. I'm taking Mixon to have more rushing yards than Cam Akers.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I'm gonna take Burrow for the most passing yards, and I'm gonna take Cam Akers on the flip side just because it supports my complaint that I had a minute ago. But all of these questions, anybody that gets them right, you got lucky. Ain't nobody knows what's going to happen with any of this stuff, which is why I'm getting, the more we talk, the more excited I'm getting about this game. I really am. All right, more receiving yards, Odell Beckham Jr. or T. Higgins?
I'm going to go Odell Beckham Jr. T. Higgins is more than capable of doing it, but Odell Beckham has showed up big during these playoffs. He, especially having Cooper Kupp opposite him, they really have to pay attention to Cooper Kupp. I know T. Higgins has Jamar Chase opposite. They're really going to have to pay attention to Jamar Chase, but I just feel like you have to put a little bit more attention on Cooper Kupp's side, which opens the door for Odell Beckham to showcase himself like he's been doing all this entire time during the playoffs. So I'm taking Odell Beckham Jr. with the 67% picked here.
Yeah, I'm also going to be taking Odell Beckham Jr. here for pretty much the exact same reason I was talking about. I'm taking Matt Stafford over Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow being under pressure all day, and that affecting his dropbacks and how often he's actually able to get the ball out. That's going to affect his receivers, and that includes T. Higgins. So I will be taking Odell Beckham Jr. here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Odell too. This is where, and Zach, you brought up, being opposite against Cooper Kupp. The reason, obviously, he's dangerous being opposite Cooper Kupp because they have to put so much attention to Cooper Kupp, and he's Odell Beckham. He's not the Odell Beckham from years ago, but what he has is that experience from the Odell Beckham from years ago. In a big game like this, his brain may be the most threatening feature he has as they work through this, and he could really step up in a huge way and make some clutch plays in the end, and that's why I'm going to go with him for that. Over under 1.5 combined touchdowns scored by Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase.
My old high school coach, shout out to Denny Pelly for the Speedway Spark plugs. He used to say, players make plays. Now, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, they are players. They make plays, and no better time to make a play than in the Super Bowl to win a world title. So I am going with the over here for Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase.
I'm also going to go with the over here. Even if Jamar Chase ends up being, an at-the-game touchdown that doesn't really mean a whole lot, I just think there's too much talent here. Even if Ramsey is covering Jamar Chase, that's why I think Cooper Kupp is like guaranteed to score a touchdown. Whether or not Jamar Chase does seems like the wild card here. But I think even Ramsey, we've seen him get burned a couple times. Mike Evans got him just a couple weeks ago. So I think both of them get in the end zone in this one.
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer because either one of these guys could score 2 touchdowns by themselves. So the odds of each of them at least scoring one are pretty good. So I think that, and 90% of the people would agree. I think this is that I think the question should have been 2 or 2.5. I'm taking the over as well. Who will record more sacks, Aaron Donald or Trey Hendrickson? I'm jumping in and I'm going Errol Donald.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Aaron Donald purely because the Bengals offensive line is not that good. Trey Hendrickson is a beast. I think he will definitely get a couple sacks here, but Aaron Donald, his main objective is going to be taking the head off Joe Burrow, and if he can do that, the Rams will win the Super Bowl. So Aaron Donald, he is a monster, and he will show everybody just who he is come Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk from Aaron Donald and the people that cover the NFL about how it's the only thing missing from his resume. And the last time Aaron Donald made a Super Bowl, they got beat 10-3. I expect Aaron Donald to come in and be the MVP. So, yes, I will be taking him to have more sacks in this game.
Yeah, and that's there's something to be said about his leadership too, because a guy like that, this is what we're talking about with the Bengals, where they're young and they're inexperienced. They don't know any better. They all think. I remember Dan Marino talking about that when he went to the first Super Bowl, he thought that there would be a regular occurrence, and it didn't happen anymore. And I guarantee Aaron Donald has told that locker room, this doesn't come around as much as you think it does, and we better take advantage while we got it. I'm not sure the Bengals really have that kind of leadership. No doubt Aaron Donald is going to have a positive effect in that regard. And I already said I'm taking Aaron Donald for this question. Will there be a defensive or special teams touchdown in this game?
So the favorite here is no at 69%, but I am going to take the yes. I said earlier that this game, if a team or a special team makes a play, they will win the Super Bowl. I think it's going to come down to that. So somebody somewhere will make a play and score a touchdown for the defense or special teams. And I'm predicting it's going to come from the Rams.
I'm also predicting a score from the Rams defense. I think it'll be a strip sack picked up, ran for a touchdown.
Well, who's going to do it?
That's a pretty lucky guess. How'd you come up with that?
I expect Burrow to get harassed all day, and they got the athletes to be able to run away. So
Donald strips it, Miller picks it up and runs it back for the tutty.
Exactly what I was about to say. Aaron Donald gets the strip sack, and Von Miller, the old Super Bowl MVP, picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown.
How'd you come up with that guess? Yes, I guess that's what it's going to be. Okay.
It ain't no guess. It's what it's going to be.
Big Valancourt. All right. Let's get back on track here, shall we? Quit all this playing around. Who will make the longest field goal? Matt Gay or Evan McPherson?
Evan McPherson. Jeff pretty much laid that one out earlier. McPherson's a better kicker. He can definitely hit it from a longer range.
Agreed.
So I'm taking Evan.
Yeah, like Zach said, I pretty much already said it earlier, so that's who I'm taking too.
Yeah. Me too. All right, over under 49.5 points scored.
Over. It's I think it's both teams are going to be in the 30s, maybe even low 40s here.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to see. I'm telling you, I'd love to see this.
Jeff's taking the under. I could see it in his face.
Oh, here it comes.
I am going to take the under. I think the final score of this game is Rams 27, Bengals 21. They get 1.5 points away from it.
Okay. I don't have anything smart ass to say. I was trying, but it was taking way too long, which kind of kills the vibe. Not so funny after that. All right. Last question. Who will be the Super Bowl MVP?
It will be Matt Stafford. I don't think it should be Matt Stafford. My guess would be Cooper Kupp or even Aaron Donald. But Matt Stafford's probably going to end up with 3-4 touchdowns. They're going to win the game. And it's his first time away from Detroit. So what better headline than Matt Stafford taking the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah, that's why I'm taking Matt Stafford here too. It feels like a quarterback would probably be inevitable to get it. I still think Aaron Donald is the guy I'm rooting for to get the MVP, a guy that I think is going to get the MVP. But because I actually want to win this thing and I'm too competitive to care about losing, I'm going to go ahead and pick Matthew Stafford here.
Yeah, well, I'm going with the Iceman, Joe Burr. He's a reincarnation of Broadway Joe. This is the big upset. I think the Bengals are going to get it, and Burrow's going to set records and put his name in stone.
Honestly, I hope so. It'd be really cool to watch it happen.
Yeah, and I know that it gets emotional as a fan because you want Stafford to get a ring, you want Aaron Donald to get a ring, but
Rams.
The Rams as a franchise have a Super Bowl ring, and I know the Bengals haven't, right? Didn't they lose twice to the 49ers?
That is correct.
Yeah. So, but oh well, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. I just hope it's a good game, and I hope that I get to eat a lot of chicken wings and nachos. So that's pretty much that.
Yeah, and let's be honest, okay? So people who watch Pat McAfee's show know what we're talking about. You don't deserve a Super Bowl if you don't have an indoor practice facility for your players. Take care of the players, and the football gods won't shit on you by making you lose every Super Bowl you appear in.
True. You're an NFL team. You're worth billions of dollars, and you make these poor guys out there in Ohio of all places practice in the cold weather. It's unacceptable. They
had to go to the University of Cincinnati for their practice because there was snow all over the place.
Well, okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? So the Patriots had an indoor practice facility, and Belichick makes them go outside and practice anyway.
Yeah, but at least they have the option.
Okay, I just needed the clarification.
Yeah, because I've heard other players talk about that, like Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney and Pat McAfee have talked about before how, in Indiana, when they get some pretty wild weather sometimes, and there would be weeks that they had to go play the Patriots in the playoffs where they would go practice outside so that they could acclimate with the cold and with the weather and whatnot. But there is the option of being an NFL team that is able to practice inside.
Good point. Point made. All right. Anything else you want to say before we go?
No, it's been a fun season, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. We look forward to talking to them come August.
Yeah. So okay. Well, we'll be back for August, right? We're gonna do preseason stuff and
we'll try to come up with some stuff to do in the off season to keep in touch.
Yeah. So like, share, subscribe, follow so you get the updates. Join us on Patreon, and then you get the inside scoop on everything. We'd love to have you. We appreciate all the support all this season. We're looking forward to a really, what we think is going to be a really exciting Super Bowl. We hope, we wish that for all of us as NFL fans. Enjoy the game. Be responsible. Be safe. And we'll see you soon. Deuces.